All right, we're live with Toni Marinucci. I'm saying your name right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Toni, say hi to everybody at home.
Hi everyone. I'm really happy to be here.
And that is Ruben. Everybody knows Ruben already.
Hello. Blue hat, red shirt. Let's do it.
All right. So we're just waiting for the cameraman to get everything set up.
Yeah, hang on. Oh, there it is. See, that's right.
You're on.
We're good?
You're good.
All right, what are we going to talk about?
Music, singing.
Okay. No, you got to sing, so it's a ritual.
Well, how about this? What is your favorite song? Growing up.
Give Ruben a
sing
song.
for Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys.
Oh.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Because the Backstreet Boys, me liking the Backstreet Boys is very similar to like how I started liking the Mets. And then everyone else became a Yankee fan. And I'm like, do I want to go to the Mets?
So you realize how much they suck, and then you made this picture.
I like the Backstreet Boys, but man, that Justin Timberlake, he's a doll.
I stayed loyal, and then eventually I just stopped caring about boy bands.
Like we all did, except for one guy over here.
That's my guilty pleasure. Backstreet Boys and sing. I don't know. I think they have good music.
Good job. Yeah, they did a good job.
Let's edit that.
Yo, what's up everybody? My name is Chris Tutela, and not only am I alongside my friend, colleague, and co-host,
Ruben Borges.
but today we have a very special guest on the show, Toni Marinucci. Welcome to TTS Talk.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, we're very excited to have you. Thank you for coming. And so Toni is a registered dietitian, and where are you based out of?
So I live in Westchester. It's a really tiny town called Pelham, but I actually work from home where I do online nutrition counseling. So I help people from all over the world. Even like literally, I actually have clients in Australia. Like it's really cool.
Ah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So sometimes I'm up at like 7:30, so I could get there 9:30 before they go to bed.
Yeah.
Then I have clients in California where I'm like up till probably like 10, so like they're just getting out of work.
Oh my God! Yeah, the time zones.
So the time zone, but it's cool having an online business. I can help people from wherever.
Awesome, and how long have you had your business?
My business I've had for a little over almost 2 years, going on the 2-year mark this December. I've been a registered dietitian for 6 years. But I started the business almost 2 years ago with having a ton of experience in the field, working for our clinical settings, outpatient counseling center settings, food service management, retail, kind of seeing all the areas in which dietitians could be and loving all of it. But finding that individualized care, the one-on-one attention is really how I'm going to be able to really make this world a healthier and happier place. Because you're going to get to the root cause a lot faster than kind of just giving out that general information. I get to spend a lot more time with my clients.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what type of clients do you work with mainly? Like, who's your demographic that you
So
work with?
I mean, I do work with men, but I would say primarily most of my clients are women, anywhere from the age of like 25 to 55. It's pretty broad, pretty general, but for the most part, I'm working with women who have kind of jumped from diet to diet and are really looking to embrace a healthier lifestyle and to really just end the cycle of dieting, end the restriction, end all of the kind of things they've read in the tabloids and believe to be true, and really get down to what's going to work for them.
Sure.
And so that's kind of like the main thing those are like the main population of who I help.
Awesome.
It seems like a lot of girls will kind of look for a quick fix. Kind of that way.
And honestly, they're not wrong in that thinking, in the sense that that's what they've been told for their entire life. Like, you know, that's why I believe like we do what we do is because we know that small changes lead to big results, and it takes a lot longer than that, but we have to be louder than the media that they've been like so saturated with for so many years. So they're not wrong in thinking that way. I just really try to get them outside of that all or nothing mindset and to really just practice on like those small wins, develop healthier habits, better behaviors to give them long-term sustainable success.
That's awesome. Yeah, and the same goes for men too, because it's certainly not just women. Like it's everybody really. It's most of the populations. They kind of feel the same way because you're conditioned to believe I have to follow a specific type of program, whether it be keto or vegan or whatever the next big trendy thing is. People always want to dive into that one thing.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it kind of comes down to your behaviors more than anything else, or the type of program that you follow. So talk a little bit about that. Like, what have you found since you started your business and now you're working with people more directly? Like, what are the biggest changes that most people have to make when it comes to their nutrition? Especially when you first start working with them, let's just say the average person.
Well, most people aren't even aware of their food choices. And a lot of times I get a lot of women who are frustrated. They're like, I'm doing everything, I'm eating healthy, I don't understand why the weight's not coming off. And it's like, okay, I believe you, I hear you, you're probably healthier than most people, but let's really take a look. And so with my program, what I have them do is basically take pictures of their food and send them and show them to me, and it comes with an app. So basically I'm constantly, they have to, every time they pause, stop to take a photo, it's like they have to think about, they have to see, they have to look at their plate. They're not just running from A to B, which we know women in particular are like taking care of everybody but themselves, right? So they're all over the place, they're not really paying attention. They didn't realize that they have been kind of, they didn't have a meal yet today, but they've been snacking all day. And now I kind of tell them, all right, let's take this photo, let's slow down, let's pay attention. So the number one thing that I think when people first start working with me is they start to recognize the habits and their behaviors that are so kind of second nature to them that they didn't even realize they were doing it.
Exactly.
So I kind of force them to see it, and then that's how we can create steps and strategies to help them to, if they're not skipping meals, or they tend to get a lot of maybe fast food, or they're drinking their calories rather than eating their calories. We really try to pinpoint what's the best kind of starting point and then work our way up from there.
Kind of creates accountability.
It's a huge, a huge amount of accountability. And I think a lot of us know what we need to do. We just have a problem maybe always following through with it. We need to be reminded. There's also nothing wrong with that at all. I think we're just human beings. Our nature is to go, we're driven by, we'll go towards pleasure and go away from pain. Like, that's just who we are naturally. So we just need to have that kind of constant reminder that sometimes there's short-term sacrifices that are going to bring long-term results, and I have to just kind of drive that home to them, that you don't have to go restrictive and get rid of everything that you love, but there are little things that we might have to change in order for you to get the results that you're looking for.
Right, and what are the biggest changes that you'll make is typically, like you were saying, like day to day, people are looking for the quick thing to grab. Like, what are some suggestions that you can make for maybe some of the women at home listening that are like, oh, well, I'm raising kids, I'm working, I'm doing this, I'm doing a million different things. Like, what have you found to be like one of the best tips that you could give them to, or if there's a few of them, what they can do to gain more control and structure throughout their day, so they're not running all over the place?
Yeah, the main thing I always tell people is planning. Planning is everything, and I think a lot of people think I have no time. How do you want me to sit down? How do you want me to plan? How do you want me to cook for the week? And they get very overwhelmed by all this time that they don't have. But forgetting to the fact that just an hour of planning out your meals, or planning out your workouts, or like thinking about what you have going on for the week, and then being kind of proactive about that, really starts to put you in that action mode and starts to help you to find ways to make it work for you. So what I tell people is, if you don't have to cook for the entire week, but you definitely want to cook for a couple of days ahead of time. Make sure the food is ready and available and on hand. When you come home from a long, stressful day, the last thing that you want to do is cook. I know I don't do it. I come home and I just take my chicken's already done, my broccoli's already done, my salad's pre-prepared. All I got to do is add a little bit of dressing and put it on the plate, and I'm good to go. So cooking ahead is really huge. However, if you really are, that is for you, maybe you lack cooking skills, or maybe you don't even feel like you have the time for that, like outsource. There's so many things out there that are meal prep services that, you're going to pay a little bit more money, but time is money, right? So if you really truly want quality nutrition that's quick and easy, I mean, you're going to have to pay a little bit of money for that, but it's worth the investment. Like, nutrition and fitness are the very few things in life that you really get back what you put in. When you buy a car, it depreciates in value, right? Like, that's just, the second you buy it, it's, it helps you, it gets you places, but really you're never going to get that same money back. Whereas when you put money into your food, into your fitness, and hiring a coach, and the things that matter, then that really comes back to you. It saves you hospital bills later. It saves you complications, saves you medication bills, like all those things that you know, the little extra money that you have to spend on meal prep goes a very long way.
Right, and I love that because so many people are willing to buy the next best car or invest in, you know, I don't know, a watch or something like that, materialistic thing, but they're not willing to invest in a coach or a meal prep service or whatever it is that's going to help them with their health. So I love that you said that, because I think that if people are aware of that, where are you spending your money? Like, make your investments in yourself. Like, yeah, it's cool to have the nice things, and if you want that, if that's your thing, great. But there's nothing wrong with that. But also make sure you invest in yourself, because without you being healthy, like, you're not going to be able to enjoy the other things.
It's even more, and you're saying with the hospitals and everything like that, but it also helps create better relationships with the people around you.
100%.
And so people want to hang out with you. Why? You invest in yourself, you're happier, you feel better about yourself, and things just get better from there. You know, you start performing better at work, you get a little creative, maybe start thinking of new hobbies to do. It almost seems like a domino effect when you start investing in yourself on how many one thing after another that's good that keeps happening.
Yeah. And also, whether you're investing or not, I would just say the act of taking care of yourself, self-care,
right,
putting the fact that you matter the most as a priority on your list, like women in particular, and men do this too, but I would just say women tend to take care of everybody else but themselves, right? So they have this whole, their concept is backwards. It's like they're last on the list, and we all know, but the things that we save till nighttime are never getting done, right? So I try to encourage women to slowly start to do the things that, you know, start with them. Wake up a little bit earlier. Yeah, you might have to sacrifice on sleep a little bit, but those 20 minutes of like your own alone time is golden. And you just feel like you already won the day, and then that kind of translates into how you react the rest of the day. And then you're, instead of being in reactive mode, you're in like proactive mode, and you're really in control of your thoughts and your mood. And like you said, like your relationships with those around you are just so much better because you've decided to take care of you first, fill your cup first, and then be there for others. And it's so much more than just like, you know, a weight on this number on the scale or whatever. It's really just being your best self and being there for people the way that you truly want to be there for them.
Yeah, no, and I love that too. It's something that we've suggested for years, is having a morning routine. Like I was talking about this on my podcast last episode, like having a morning routine, even if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, that allows you to now do the stuff that you say you don't have the time to do. So if your schedule is really insane, let's say you're commuting to New York City, you have kids, but you really do have a million things on your plate, you could do a 15-minute workout in your house in the morning if that's all you have time for, right? Meal prep goes the same way. Like, where can you fit in your meal prep over the course of the week? And like you said, you don't have to have a zillion Tupperware like you see on Instagram. You don't need to do all that craziness. But to prepare a couple of things, to have them aside. So if you're running late, if you get behind, it's there. So now that temptation of, I have nothing, let me just grab pizza. That's where people, at least from my experience over the years, that's one of the biggest things. It's not so much and tell me from your experience if you agree with this, but over the course of the last 14 years working with people, most people know that broccoli is a better option than cookies, right? Like most people know that, but they have trouble sticking with the broccoli over the cookies. And that comes down to your day's structure, what's important to you, and then prioritizing your day around the food that you're eating.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of times people forget why they started. It's like, are you just eating broccoli because your doctor told you to, or are you eating broccoli because you know that eating more vegetables makes you feel good and gives you the energy to, you know, be better at your job, which is going to help you get the promotion. Like, I think people think so small, they think so immediate, that it's not about the immediate things. I mean, immediately, you're probably going to have a stomach ache versus, like, if you choose, like, if you have, like, a ton of cookies, versus, like, having a nutritiously balanced meal, right? But really, it's like those little changes those choices that you're making are what forms your future. And I don't think people think it that way.
They think of it as like punishment, not as like,
and that's
I like someone to say, like, hey, it's fuel. Like, you're gonna feel so much better. It's actually, you're gonna feel successful, you're gonna just feel that much better, rather. It's not like you're being forced to
You know, it's funny that you say that, because you're saying, like, they're eating it as like if it's punishment, but you know, it's like, people think that they'll put like food like broccoli and chocolate chip cookies or whatever like in a good and bad category and then feel guilty. So they'll eat the chocolate chips but then feel guilty after for having quote unquote bad food. Yeah. But it's like really there's just a healthier choice and a less healthier choice. But like no matter what you do, that's kind of why I help people and what I help them to do is like no matter what you do, you feel guilty. Like like you either feel guilty or you feel bad or not fulfilled and like you know, it's like we really have to kind of just like I try to help people to kind of disassociate like that relationship with food and like you said, kind of just use it as food is fuel. We need to figure out what foods make us feel good, make us feel our best, so that way we can live our lives and like, because otherwise it's going to keep coming back, right? So many times people try to like they want to change their health and then they ignore it and then they might do something about it but then they ignore it and it's like but it's always there and it's always going to keep coming back until you fully address it. So like the sooner you learn how to eat, the sooner you can truly do everything you want in life. So.
And from your experience, like what has been the best way where you have your clients to really address that issue and to really start making real progress and moving forward?
So we have conversations all the time. Like I meet with all my clients weekly with like video conferencing, and I always ask them, where do you want to begin? Like I leave it up to my client to tell me, and then I help kind of guide them and make that happen. So if they tell me, yeah, I do recognize I do want to start cooking from home a little bit more. So we like talk about, okay, so what nights are real, like is that really applicable for you? You know, if they have a boyfriend or a spouse and they go out on dates every Monday night, let's say, we don't want to take that part away. I want to teach them how to eat healthy when they go out on their dates so they can still enjoy their life. But maybe now we take a look at the rest of the week when they're like ordering in on Fridays, and you know what, why don't we use Friday to cook some healthy stuff to get you through the weekend, which tends to be really challenging for most people. So we really, it's very individualized, it's very one-on-one, but I always have the client tell me where they want to begin, because if we try to force change on someone, it doesn't work either. And the whole concept is to like create those small wins so they have the confidence to do more.
I love that. And that's something that we've talked about a million times to our clients here, because a lot of people think that like, even if their goal is really drastic, like they want to get abs, let's just say they want to get really, really lean to the point where they have veins in their abs. I always tell people, if you want to get that lean, it doesn't mean that you have to lock yourself in a bedroom with broccoli and chicken. Like, you could go out to a restaurant and order something healthy on the menu. You could get a piece of salmon and vegetables, right? You could get clean food anywhere that you go. So just because you're eating clean, eating healthy, eating well, whatever the hell you want to call it, it doesn't mean that you have to be a slave to your diet and say, oh, I can't go out with my friends because I'm like, then yes, you're going to fall off, if you want to call it that. You're going to go the opposite route that you want to go with your eating if you put yourself in that mindset, because then, like you said, you feel guilty for doing any little thing, and you might just say, screw it, now I'm doing this, or I'm doing that.
Stressing out, stress is not good either.
Oh, no, so. Your diet's not supposed to stress you out, you know, it's really supposed to give you freedom and, like, lack of stress. So I totally agree with that.
Do you think having your clients, like, kind of, basically they're answering the question themselves, you're getting them to realize what they need to do? Because I feel most people, it's a lot of times they eat with emotion. So how often do you think that helps someone to kind of explain why they're doing it, and then they realize, all right, well, I got to do it this way. Any other tips that you think can help someone that maybe emotionally eats more often than not?
Yes. So emotional eating is something that I definitely help my clients overcome. Because like you were saying earlier, we kind of know what to do, we don't always do it. But like when you've had a stressful day and maybe your spouse pissed you off or whatever it is, and now we have a plate of cookies or broccoli and you're angry, you're going for the cookies. They're talking to you. They're saying, come here, so I always, we need to kind of point out, okay, like, let's take a step back. What's the big picture? Is this really helping the situation, or is it kind of putting salt in a wound? Like, is it really, like, because now you're here, you're pissed off, you're angry, you're upset about what happened, and now you're mad at yourself because you know that you've been set this goal, and you just let somebody else dictate how you're going to get to that goal, and now you're back a little bit, right? And see, with food is like the one thing that brings like immediate satisfaction that's socially acceptable.
Right.
So like so sometimes, and also too, like drugs, alcohol, they're obviously, you know, not socially acceptable, not healthy. Also, they take time to get into your system. Food is immediate, and it's abundant.
But it's the same dopamine response.
Same exact thing, right? And so you can there are food addicts out there, and I don't think my emotional eaters are quote unquote food addicts, but they do have a tendency to want to go for the sugary things, or you know, the fried foods, or the salty stuff, or whatever. And so I just get them to recognize that it's like, okay, so you're trying to feel better, that's the main thing, right? But now we wait 20 minutes later and we just overate as a reaction, and we didn't choose that choice. So how does that really make you feel, right? And so then we have to work on little habits. So like, listen, like, to eat emotionally, it's not a problem, and we all can do it, and we do it from time to time. The question is, how often are you doing it, and is it really playing a factor into why you can't get to your goals? And I kind of just help them to maybe do it less often. We're human beings. We're gonna have emotions, right? I know after a stressful week, like, that wine bottle looks real nice to me. You know, like, so, and you know, it's just a matter of, I understand, I'm conscious of it, I'm aware of it, and now I choose to make the choice or not. But I think a lot of people sometimes choose, like, you know, ignorance is bliss, but it's like, eventually you're gonna have to come to reality and like, okay, what's actually happening here, and like, and is this choice really gonna help me in the long run?
I think you hit the nail on the head with being conscious of it, right? Because when you have unconscious eating habits, that's where it starts to, you have that downward spiral and the snowball effect, and it really starts to get out of hand, because now it's just part of your day. It's part of your daily habits that you're not even conscious of. So you're not even thinking about it, and you're just making decisions based on what you do on a daily basis, right? So whether it be emotional or just habitual, you're just reacting and you're not even thinking about it. So bringing that to the surface and making people aware and conscious of, and that's why I love the idea with the photos, because if you stop, take a picture of it, send it to you, or put it into your app, however you do it. But doing all those steps, that's going to make you way more aware than just like, all right, let me just eat this. Okay, you know, you grab something from the fridge, or if you're at work, or you know, whatever it is. But that's fantastic. So how many people do you work with these days?
Honestly, I keep it pretty small. Like, I cap it at 20 people because I want to provide quality service, and then I also do things like podcasting and speaking and stuff like that. But
you deliver more value that way too.
Yeah, because then I can really give them all my time. So, because it's not just the weekly calls, it's like the in-between stuff. It's the, you know, when they're at a restaurant and they don't know what to purchase and like, or what to get, and they send me the menu beforehand, or like, you know, they had a fight with their boyfriend or something like that that's making them want to go to the cookies. Like those things, it's like really helping them, bring them back, and to remind them what's the big picture. Right,
I see, okay.
Yeah.
Now, before you were doing this, your own nutrition coaching, right? You said you were a registered dietitian for 6 years?
Yep.
Okay, so, and now what were you doing before that?
Everything. I do love nutrition, and I love soaking it all in. My last job was a retail dietitian. It was really cool. I was in a supermarket, and it really put me more on the preventative end. And I did really enjoy it. I just love the idea of being able to work from wherever and working for myself. I don't think there's anything more fulfilling than that.
Right.
But yeah, so it was great being there, because it really opened up my eyes to like all the things that are in the supermarket, and you know, the cereal aisle itself. I mean, there's so many options, and like it kind of.
I have to say, the Cocoa Puffs start calling my name.
Chocolate, Cookie Crisp.
Cookie Crisp. We got a rebel over here.
I got 2 of them in there, and I hope my mom didn't see them. What are you doing? These are like $9. It's like this big.
Yeah, it's so funny.
So you were working for a supermarket, right? And you know, we do have some entrepreneurs and business owners, you know, that watch this show. So talk about that for a second. I told you my story. Like I was working for the fire department, and I decided to leave to do this full time. So now you had a similar shift. So just talk about that experience for a little bit, and kind of walk us through that.
So I think for a while, I kind of always knew I needed my own business, but I was afraid. I think it's fair to say, like, you know, I thought, like, what are my parents going to think? My dad's actually an entrepreneur. I mean, he has his own business. It's construction. And so he's worked so hard to make sure that my sister, because he did that because he didn't have, like, you know, parents, it's a long story, but he didn't have the support, and so he had to work when he was 18, and so he didn't get a chance to go to college, and he was never really good in school, and so he made sure to make a life for me and my sister where he could, he paid for our college, which I was very fortunate for, and so I've always thought like he wanted me to have a job with benefits and because that's what he worked so hard to do. So when I told him I was like, I'm going to leave the corporate world and I'm going to work for myself full time, I was like expecting him to be like, I work so hard, but
benefits.
But honestly, they were really supportive. My parents, which is so awesome.
How old is your dad?
He's 50. No, I'm totally lying. Wow. He's 60-something.
Oh, 60-something.
My mom's going to be 65. My dad's going to be 64.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Italian should just kept saying.
Italian.
Okay, so the reason I asked, because I have, my father is 67, old school Italian guy. So for me, getting into the fire department, that was like, he's set for life, he's happy. When I told him that I was leaving, man... I can't even say. I'll get kicked off Instagram if I can tell you what he actually called me. But so I could totally appreciate that. So go ahead.
Well, no. So I think it's important to note. So the reason why I'm saying that is because I for so long wasn't doing it because I was telling myself these stories that weren't true, and I was in this fear state of what other people were going to think and what other people thought, and my parents who I love and I wanted their approval, and of course it matters, but at the same time that wasn't even true. When I actually told them I was going to do it, they were like, my dad was like, you know what, it makes sense, you're young.
That's awesome.
I don't have a family,
That's
for now it is the right time.
Right.
And so, but for so long I pushed it away
because
I thought I was going to get this, disapproval. So we kind of tell ourselves these stories, and I think it's very similar to people in their fitness journeys. They tell themselves, I can never be, run a 5K, or I can never do a half marathon, or, all those things.
Right.
But yeah, so I recognized that I wanted to do this, so I started by doing it on the side while working for the other business full time. And then kind of just slowly, build up my clientele. Started to realize okay, I could either go part-time with this job and play scared and stay in that fear zone, or I could just go for it and just trust that it's going to work out. And so far, it's been good.
Knock on wood. Knock on Ruben's head.
He's going to do it too.
No.
It's just dunk, 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 dunk.
Well, that's awesome because I think a lot of people had that fear, and and Chris, you did it too. It's like it's tough. You're like, do I have to take this leap? And when you do it, I think that's when all of a sudden you see the biggest change.
Yeah.
Because you took that chance, you invested in yourself, and trust yourself to accomplish this. So probably you. It's a really good job.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And what advice would you give people that may be having a similar decision to make? Right? Maybe they have this idea, but they're in this job and they can't seem to get themselves out of this job. Mm-hmm. Maybe they hate the job, maybe they don't, but they want to get out.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
Well, first off, start just listening to tons of personal development books. Your car is where you educate yourself. Don't put the radio on. Listen to things like Mel Robbins, Brandon Bouchard, Darren Hardy. Just anybody that is doing something entrepreneurial, listen to them.
Right.
But the second
The Iron Life podcast, by the way.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing that saved me time, energy, was hiring a business coach. So I work with Toni Marinucci. I think you work with Toni Marinucci too. Mm-hmm. So we know each other. So he's helped me because he's doing exactly what I want to do. Right. So invest in the right business coach too. Yeah. Don't just someone that just claims themselves to be a business
There's a lot out there that are shady.
He's a mentor, he's a friend, he's a registered dietitian like I am. Right. He has a successful online nutrition business already for he had 2 years before he started taking on and teaching other dietitians how to do it. So invest in the right people,
right?
And get support, and kind of you are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
So really try to take a look at who you're spending your most time with, and if they're not really on the same level as you, that's okay. And we have friends for friends, but we have if you're really trying to be an entrepreneur, hang out with entrepreneurs.
Right. Yeah, and something that I would add to that too is, you don't have to ask everybody for their opinion. If you want to make a move, don't ask 100 different people.
Sometimes the answer too.
Maybe you have 1 to 3 people that you really respect and that are going to support you and really care about you. But for the most part, if you ask your parents or if you ask a relative, they might not give you the support that you are looking for or that you need. They might not agree with you, and that's just going to take you off course.
Yeah.
So that's not going to help in your decision. So don't try to win them over by asking them for their opinion, expecting them to say something different than what you already know they're going to say. So just, make that decision based on how you feel, and if you know something's right in your heart, and you shouldn't make, again, this shouldn't just be like spur of the moment, like, screw it, I'm quitting my job, I'm starting a business. What are you starting? I don't know, but I'm starting something.
Have the idea first.
Right. Have a plan, be smart about it, and then you could always, you could transition out slowly. That would be my advice to add to what Toni said.
Kind of what you did, right? You transition slowly, and it seemed like one day it was like, all right, I'm doing pretty good at this.
Yeah.
Let's go for it, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, Toni, where could everyone find you if they want to work with you? If they want, I know you have a podcast.
Yeah.
Where could everybody find you?
So you can find me on Instagram. I hang out there the most. Tips with Toni. Tips_with_Toni with an I. My website is www.tipswithtoni.com, and you can also find me on Facebook. And I have a podcast as well called Tips with Toni. So just Google search Tips with Toni, and I'll
Tips with Toni. You'll find it.
Well done.
Ruben, where can everybody find you?
Guys, you also can find me on Instagram at _Ruben, RUBEN, _Borges, BORGES. And listen, you can find a lot of motivational stuff there, a lot of exercises, always looking to help out, guys.
And you can find me at Chris_Tutela, TUTELA on Instagram. You can check out my podcast. It's the Iron Life Podcast with Chris Tutela. Episode 3 is dropping this week, so keep an eye out for that. Toni, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's really a pleasure. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to leave everybody at home with? Is there one piece of advice you could give them before you leave today?
Okay.
What would it be?
Break out with the fad diets and just commit to being a healthier version of you, one healthy bite at a time.
I love it. I love it.
I like
She
that.
had that planned up here. Yeah, right on there.
Piece of cake.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you next week on another episode of
TTS Talk.
See, he does that creepy stuff, but we don't ask him to do it. He just goes.
It comes naturally.
He's a natural creep. We'll catch you next week on another episode of TTS Talk.
Right.
TTS Talk, guys.
Chalk.
Thanks for tuning in. Toni, thank you.